The Chinese foreign minister has accused the US of using ASEAN countries as chess pawns in its attempts to put pressure on China's presence in the Indo-Pacific region.
We should insulate this region from geopolitical calculations and the trap of the law of the jungle, from being used as chess pieces in major power rivalry and from coercion.
This comes amid rising tensions between Beijing and Washington in the Indo-Pacific area, with the US exerting pressure on the 10 ASEAN countries. Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has accused Russia of creating a world where big nations can bully small nations, citing the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But many have called out the hypocrisy of such a statement coming from a US official.
If Russia is allowed to do what it's doing, that means that we're going to go back to a world in which might makes right, in which big nations can bully small nations. That's the opposite of the rules-based order.
We heard from Marko Gasic, international affairs commentator, who says that the US has been bullying small nations since the end of the Cold War.
Blinken's recent statement is absolutely ridiculous. It only shows the one-eyed nature of the way the US perceives the world, because the US, as we know, has, since the end of the Soviet Union, since the end of the Cold War in particular, been bullying small nations interminably as a way of projecting its own power worldwide. The status of the US as undisputed bully is the thing that the US wishes to maintain, and any nations that do not sign on to US protection will receive the US punishment. And that's what we call bullying, and that's what we call coercion and force, and it's an illegal use of force which the US has already demonstrated initially in Yugoslavia. Then when they got away with that, the US demonstrated it in Iraq and Libya and so on and so forth. It's the US game plan. We'll do it nicely if you agree, and if you don't agree, we're going to bully you. So the idea of Blinken that he wants to stop this kind of system in the world is utterly ridiculous. What Blinken wants to do is to confine bullying to the US orbit and the US power and no one else.
Well, those are the main stories this hour. Do head over to rt.com or our social media